JOVA. The JOVA Podcast. Riffi, welcome. Welcome to the JOVA Podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
What do I call you? Riffi? Clifford? Yeah.
The Sangoma.
The Sangoma, the Sound Sangoma. What do I call you?
Aye, whatever floats your boat, man. Riffi's fine.
So is your name Clifford?
Yes, that's my
That's
government
your
name.
government name.
That's it.
Riffi, is that a nickname?
Yes. So that came from my grandmother, I think.
Okay.
As far as I know, because we don't have the letter L in Shona, Cliff or Cliffy became Griffy, Riffi. So eventually I come down to South Africa, there are people called Refilwe. So it kind of just,
Were you once called Riffi?
all the time. All the time, people are just like,
wow.
oh, what's your name? Riffi. Oh, Refilwe. It's like, no, just Riffi.
No, just Riffi. That's it.
So it kind of just stuck.
That's
ever
interesting.
since, like every now and then, someone will call me Clifford when I'm in trouble or
Yeah.
something. But otherwise, even now, my family calls me Riffi.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yep.
Sometimes my wife, and her my brother-in-law, they call me Bula,
Yeah.
and it's so funny. Our countries are so similar.
Bulayan. I'm
So
guessing.
yeah, Blian, and the short for Blian is Bula. so,
Oh, that's crazy.
so the RL thing
Yep.
is
Yep.
it's
It's
a
a
bit of a thing.
Rhodesian
Yeah.
thing.
It's sort of standard
Yeah,
around
yeah,
there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Here I've heard people say Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's like
yeah.
Sutu, I think Sutu.
I think it's
speakers, or
yes.
Tswana.
Yeah, Sutu, I think it's like many of the-
Pretoria.
Yeah, Brian.
Like, okay.
Oh, Brian.
Whatever for Riffi.
Riffi.
Whatever floats your boat, bro.
Riffi, Clifford.
Yeah.
And then your last name is Wacho. Or is it Machinga Ifa?
Machinga Ifa is my actual last name. Wacho was also just like it was a Facebook thing.
Like the one.
Yeah.
Riffi, the one, the guy.
We used to like change our Facebook names every now and
Yeah,
then.
yeah, and then-
Baba Riffi, this, and
Yeah.
I one time changed it to Riffi Wacho. Wanted to change it back, and Mark Zuckerberg was like, nah.
Nah, dude, you've done this too much.
yeah.
Is this fraud? What are you doing?
Commit.
It,
So it just became Riffi Wacho, and it sounded nice after a
yeah,
while.
I mean,
so-
look, it works, bro.
Yeah.
It works. I think the entire time I've known you as Riffi. No. I'm lying. You were Riffi Wacho, but I
Yeah.
did know your last name was Machinga Ifa somehow. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Maybe
Also,
through
we've known
Andile
each
or
other
something.
for a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even gonna like try and guess how many years, but
2008. That's when I met you.
2008?
the first time. Yep.
wow,
We're that old.
that's like a year out of matric
Well, for you.
for me.
Not for me, Sips tea.
Can't be that many years after.
Thank you for the tea also.
You're welcome. I saw you're a flavored tea connoisseur.
Fanatic. Yes. You did your research. Love flavored tea.
So this flavor, what do you think?
It tastes lemony.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but it's nice. It's
I
floral.
don't know the brand. I
It's
just found it in
floral.
the kitchen. We're at Case in Point. We're shooting here at Case in Point. Thank you, Case in Point, for allowing us. And they've got flavored tea in the kitchen.
Absolutely
So
amazing.
it's
I love
great.
it.
It's
I love
nice.
it.
I wanted to do chamomile, but I thought we might fall asleep halfway through the thing.
So lemon is perfectly fine for the energy, for the vibes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So flavored tea, dude. Do you have like a ritual?
No. I just love flavored tea.
Do you have flavored tea every day?
No, not
So
anymore.
there's it's not like a ritual thing, like, oh, every morning I gotta have my
That's not
whatever
coffee.
tea.
So it used to be flavored tea.
Oh, now it's coffee.
Now it's coffee, which I actually need to get out of back
Yeah.
to tea.
Yeah.
But coffee out of necessity because
It's getting
the
hectic.
body's not what it used to be
Yeah.
anymore. So after a hectic night, you need something to just.
Give you some energy for the day.
But I used to love. I used to have like at any given point 6 to 8 different flavors of tea at home because
Yeah.
I just like tea.
I tried to do the tea thing. Yeah, I think 2013, 2014. I tried to get into like tea. And I couldn't go further than chamomile and lemon tea.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I tried. What's that one that's like a deep red, maroon? It's very floral.
Pomegranate.
No, it's very floral. It's like it's from like a flower or something.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, I tried that. I was like, yuck.
Yeah, yeah. They can be a bit bitter.
No.
Yeah, they can be a little bit bitter. But I mean, for me, it's just really just liking things.
Yeah.
And also, I think there was a time where it was fashionable to be drinking. So it's not just rooibos or five roses. Now it's just like, oh, I've got ginger and what tea.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And so it was a thing
Ginger,
at some
honey,
point.
and lemon.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, hey,
That's like a
went
standard.
into Woolies. I was like, right, from here to here,
I'm taking these
let's
teas.
go. Yeah.
You know, in my notes, I was like, yeah, I'm going to ask him about this tea. And then it's probably linked to some kind of
It's not even
process when he's working, he gets the creative juices flowing. Now it's like, there's nothing to this tea thing. It's just tea.
Nothing. The guy just likes warm beverages. That's it.
I'm being coaxed into coffee.
Okay.
So I'm on lattes right now. I can't do anything stronger than a latte, bro.
Look, be careful.
So I'm having milk
Yeah.
with coffee.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is what's happening.
Slippery slope, that one. The
Yeah.
coffee. Before you know it, you are 5 cappuccinos a day in deep.
Bro, I've been on this coffee thing for like almost 9 months now, 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The guys at work were like, dude, get into coffee. And I just can't get past. Dude, cappuccinos are like,
Strong.
it's like, okay, but I can manage.
I'm
not going to
espresso
get into
now.
a coffee.
Yeah.
That's just
It's like
coffee, just only. No,
it's as good as sucking on the bean.
yeah, no, I don't think I'm ever getting to that point. I'll tell you now.
Oh, slippery slope. We'll see. We'll talk in 9 months and see.
So, dude, the
Yeah.
Sound Sangoma, I'm sure there's a lot to this. I was looking at your Instagram just
Right.
out of interest, and I noticed I wasn't following you, so I followed you.
Oh, thank you.
Today,
Thank you. That was you. Okay.
That was me.
Thank
Today.
you.
I was like, I'm not
just said the
following this guy. Follow. And I was looking at it, and I saw you posted. You've got like 3 posts.
Yes. Well, one.
Well, 1.
Yeah.
Because the 2 are just blank spaces. Because these days, people want to like make their Instagram look
Feng
all
shui.
fancy
Yes,
and
yes.
white blocks, and then the actual post, and then like, okay. And you posted something about your pseudonym, the Sound Sangoma. So, just explain to me, what is that? Where did it come from? What is it? What does it mean?
So it came from actually where the thought came from. It was someone was telling me how Mark Kibble, who's an arranger for Take Six, calls himself the architect or something like that. So initially I was going to call myself the sound architect.
Okay.
But then architect was a bit, too far-fetched for me. I think I wanted something that resonated with who I was sort of beginning to discover myself. I had this whole journey of trying to see how my Africanness can be translated into the work that I do. And then I ran across a song by Thandiswa Mazwai. I think it's called Ingoma, actually.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by this word because in my language, ngoma is a drum, but ingoma in isiZulu is a song.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's one word that means 2 different things that are related in 2 different languages. And then the word sangoma came up, and I was like, but it also has that word in it. But a sangoma was a healer, was someone who would bring healing to people through herbs, through different means. A sangoma wasn't a witch doctor.
Yeah.
In the origins of where that word came from. So sangoma became really a moniker for someone who heals other people, but using ngoma being either the rhythm of the drum or music. So Sound Sangoma was just like, I heal people through sound that is derived from music or from rhythm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And I thought it might be that.
It might have something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the extent of it. It doesn't go any further into like the spiritual or
Nah.
There's nothing about. I guess it is kind of spiritual if we're talking about healing.
Yeah.
To a degree, especially healing with sound. You know, it's kind of an abstract concept.
Absolutely. And if you really then dig deeper into the idea of sound, because I mean, sound can heal you physically, but for all intents and purposes, especially when music is concerned, it's more of an internal thing. So yes, there is a spiritual element to it. But even if you look at something like cymatics, so cymatics is the study of how audio waves affect physical matter. And they've seen that certain sound waves or frequencies can actually move physical things into shapes or whatever. Have a look at cymatics if you're not familiar with it. But when we look at how the world was created, if you believe in the story of creation, it was through sound.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
God spoke, and that sound changed physical matter into, you know, shapes and things and objects and whatever. So sound really, to be honest with you, goes way beyond just pushing faders and balancing things. For me, there's a very deep spiritual side to it, but that's for me in how I approach music, how I approach sound. And I believe that there's some songs that people will listen to and be like, yo, there's something about this song. And it may be the lyrics, it may be the music, but it also may be just how it's put together.
100%. I wanted to go somewhere else with this, but I like what you're saying. And one of the things that I wanted to know from you, you're a sound engineer.
Yes.
Meaning you're also a mix engineer, right? You do mastering as well?
Yes.
And you mix for live as well. So live performances.
Yes, I do.
So you do live sound as well. So when it comes to working in the studio, right? Mixing, how do you sort of find a balance between technical precision and like artistic expression? Because one of the things that I've noticed, especially with myself, when I try and record something in the studio versus when I perform something somewhere at a restaurant or something, there's a very big difference. Maybe I'm overthinking in the studio, you know, being in that booth in front of the mic, you know, with all the time in the world. Well, I'm lucky because I get to, you know, spend as much time in the studio as I can. But I tend to overthink, I guess. And there's a big difference between Brian in the studio and Brian singing live. The studio just doesn't quite express. I can't translate whatever it is I'm trying to translate when doing whatever mix I'm doing. And I'm not an engineer by the stretch of the imagination. I'm an enthusiast. So I do know a few things and I manage to get away with it. But when it comes to you know, the technical side of things and then the artistic expression, how do you bring that out? How do you strike a balance?
For all intents and purposes, my approach has always leaned more towards the artistic side of things. And it helps that I didn't, well, it's only now that I'm getting a formal education in music and sound. But I think sometimes the formal education will put you in a box to say, you must high pass your vocal at 50 hertz. You must do this and that and that and that. And I can see it in the guys that we work with, this one went to school, this one. Because it's very technical, like you're saying. But again, we are conveying emotion with the music, right? So the sound also has to play into that. One of the things that I love about Jacob Collier is that his music, for the most part, really just speaks to how it makes people feel. And as a result, sometimes he'll use unconventional methods to get that feeling across. Whereas the technical side of things would have said, no ways, you can't do that.
Don't do that,
Right? The artistic side would be like, let's try it, let's see. So instead of using that, I'll use that and see how that feels, how that sounds. So for me, always, my approach is more artistic. And the technical side of things, for me, becomes knowing which tool to use to get what I want to get. Not necessarily to be like, this is a rule. There are no rules as far as I'm concerned. It's just to say, okay, I want to achieve that. Which tool do I use to do that? That's the best tool for that. That's how you use that tool. So you'll find that sometimes, let's say with an a cappella mix, I might not even EQ it.
Just as it is.
Take the vocal. So someone once asked me, "How do you get your vocals to sound so natural?" And I was like,
That's
I
just
don't
not,
do
I didn't do
anything.
anything. I just recorded it
Right.
and then that's it.
I'm only using EQ to solve problems. So there's a problem, there's a clash there, or there's this there, it's too boomy or whatever. Then I just use subtractive EQ, very rarely like additive EQ. But for the most, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should actually go through like a mix that I've done and put up on YouTube. I barely touch them. Just leave it. Yeg. And then it's the most natural it sounds. It goes completely against what the technical side of things would
definitely.
demand.
Yeah.
But the artistic side says, hey, it sounds nice. Just leave it.
You know, it's nice that you're saying that, because one of the other things I wanted to ask you was your secret, when it comes to processing of vocals. And in our church, a cappella groups,
Yes.
we've got a lot of those, and there's a sound that everybody is chasing.
Yeah.
How do you then, when you're working with a group, how do you manage their expectations? Because a lot of groups will come in and they want to sound like this or like that. I've been asked to arrange songs for groups because they heard something on SoundCloud or whatever, with me just messing around. And then I do an arrangement and send it to them, and then they go, "Oh yeah, but this is not like the thing that." But you guys are a mixed group. The thing you heard on SoundCloud was just me on my own, and I was arranging for like a male, voice. You're a mixed group. You've got females in there, so I arranged based on that, and also your sort of type of sound. But they wanted something specific. They wanted to sound like something else, and I think that doesn't really work because groups are different, voices are different. So based on the voices you're working with, you have to sort of, how do you balance that? Because a lot of clients, I'm sure, have asked you to make them sound expensive.
Yeah. My thing is, and I've had this recently, where a lady came, who I will not name for fear of victimization, but she came with her manager, and the manager says, right, so we want her to sound like Beyonce. So I'm like, okay, when you say like Beyonce, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, just the way Beyonce sings and whatever. And I'm like, I can give you that if she sings like Beyonce. If she sings like Beyonce, I can make her sound like Beyonce.
You got it. It's going to happen.
Can I say there's a secret? Not so much. But if you want to sound a particular way, it means you need to bring
at least the building blocks of that.
Yeah. Because what we do is just we're interpreting what you've given me. So if you play badly, I'm not a magician.
Yeah.
Can't take that and make it sound a particular way. I'm just making sure that it's blended. It's I'm just dressing it up, but you've brought the clothes, right? And I'm working with what you've given me. Same thing like you were saying. If you arrange for a mixed group, it's going to sound completely different to what you would have done on your own because different clothes.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't dress it all the same way. I think maybe if anyone is out there listening, I would say be comfortable in your own clothes, such that when you then go to an engineer or whatever, they're just ironing out the creases, but the clothes are yours.
Yeah.
Don't look at someone else's clothes and be like, I want to look like that.
Yeah.
And then go to someone
while wearing
tailor,
these same clothes, I want to look like
and
that.
say, make this look like that.
Yeah.
We can't do that. We can work with this. If there are creases, we can iron them out. If we need to adjust the length for something, we can do that, but with what you have. Yeah.
And have you ever had issues where your client, the artist or whatever, is disagreeing with you about something that's quite technical, they just don't understand, and you're telling them, no, that's not, I can't. How do you manage that?
All the time. So yes, there's the technical, there's the artistic side of thing. I think there's also like the HR side of thing. where we deal with people. So nowadays, I don't mix with clients in the room because why? But it happens quite often that you'll sit with the client in the room and they'll be like, oh, the bass is too soft. Why don't you just bring it up 6 dB? And you're like, ooh, 6.
A whole 6 dB.
I think it's fine where it is because I understand the room and I
Yeah.
know how it's going to translate.
Yeah.
And they'll go back in tomorrow, they'll come and they'll be like, okay, maybe 6 was a bit much. Maybe just take it down 3 dB. And you're like, okay, we'll take it down 3 dB. In the afternoon, they'll be like, maybe just 2 more dB.
Do you ever like say, cool, I've taken it up, but like you haven't done anything?
All the time. All the time. All the time. But I mean, in those cases, you end up back where you started at.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
So again, I'm just the tailor. You know, it's your clothes. It's your show at the end of the day. I will always advise and suggest. And I always say this. Mine is to suggest and advise. This is what I think, but we'll go with what you want because it's not my music at the end of the day. I'm not custodian unless I'm told that, dude, we need you to direct us then I'll be like, okay, we're getting rid of that. Let's do this. But otherwise, you want more bass? I'm gonna advise you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's been a few cases where the music has come out and I've asked not to be credited.
I was about to say, but then you agree, you relent, right? And you say, fine. And then the thing goes out and this was mixed by the Sound Sangoma.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's happened sometimes. I'm just like, guys,
No need to credit me.
congratulations.
You've paid me.
Not no need. I'll just like, please don't.
Don't.
Yeah.
Not even no need. Do not
And I'll tell
mention
them why.
my name.
I'll just be honest and be like, I'm not happy with what you're putting out.
Yeah.
You forced my hand because you're the client. But I mean, now I get less and less of those kind of people.
Yeah.
More and more people kind of trust what I'm suggesting, and they'll be like, okay. Or we'll find a middle ground where, or like you're saying, I'll just pretend to do it and not do it. And they'll never know.
Speaking of live sound, right? You engineered for church for a while.
For a while, yes.
And I'm pretty sure you've had situations where people say, I can't hear myself or whatever. Do you, they're just saying that. Do you adjust, especially like with praise and worship, sound for praise and worship? I think a lot of people don't understand what they're doing up there as a praise and worship team. Mm-hmm. You're not meant to hear yourself as in, that's
just
me.
You.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's me. I can hear it. Mm-hmm. You should hear yourself enough to not sing off key, right?
To reference, yeah.
But people want to hear, do you ever say, cool, I've raised, and then you don't do it?
Yeah, all the time.
It's a thing, with it, especially like praise and worship. It's such a...
It's the placebo effect.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you think that I'm doing it, you'll hear yourself louder.
Yeah.
And that's what you want at the end of the day, right?
And then we all win,
I've
right?
solved the problem without necessarily adding anything additional to what's on stage.
Yeah.
You just touch the fader and you're like...
Then they go, yeah. Did you ever engineer for more than one church? Like, or was it just Metro Church?
I think the first church I engineered for, well, in South Africa there is, was Santon Church. Mm-hmm. I think that's where it all started.
Like
on that
back
old
when
Yamaha.
they were still in the small church.
When we had Mad Youth. On Friday
yes,
nights.
FNL and all that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember doing sound there, and then
I think at that time the church sound was quite decent, right?
Yeah, for what we had at the time, it was decent. It was good. And also, like, I can do live sound, but I've never really been like a live sound engineer.
Oh, okay.
Now it's just a thing of like, I'm a studio engineer who can engineer live, and I pick and choose who I work with now in the live space. But it's also just me trying to translate the knowledge I have in studio into this space.
The live
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
So I was still learning back then. I was long time ago. But even then, like, it was okay. The sound at Stanton Church wasn't bad. We went to Metro. Also, same thing. Very limited in terms of the gear that we had, but we made it work with what was there, At the end of the day, you just want people to be heard. So, it's not like a festival.
No, that's... it's funny you're saying you actually don't do live sound. I thought you do. I think I've seen you a few times on other people's videos. Oh, there's Riffi. He's actually doing sound for this thing. Oh, cool, interesting.
For the most part, it's either I've been asked to, and I'll be like, okay. Or, so professionally, there's 3 acts that I work with now, but all came from studio. So I worked with them in studio, and then they're like, "Hey,
we need you on the road.
we
as
need
well.
you, or
Just
we
six?
want to take the sound of studio on the road."
On the road,
and yeah.
So Just Six?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Just Six, I think, was the the main sort of like act that I worked with on stage until early last year, I think. So right now I'm working with Something Soweto. I'm working with The Soil and a guy called Bongeziwe Mabandla.
So you said the bane. Was that a mistake, or they were the bane of your existence?
I want to say main, but
was it a mistake? They were not the bane of your existence.
No. I think I grew the most as an engineer
working with them
during my time with, especially live.
Yeah.
It was like 12 years, I think, that I was with Just Six.
Wow,
and
that's
they were the
crazy,
only,
dude.
they were the only acts that I actually was like their live engineer.
Yeah.
Almost 11, 12 years or so. So I learned a lot.
You don't see the years go by. Hey? That just seems like a lot.
Yeah, 12 years. Is this 2013? I mean, 2013. That's 12 years ago. So definitely, I think they helped me to become who I am in terms of being a live sound engineer.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that I learned from my time with Just Six that now has enabled me to work with the people that I'm working with.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have ever been in those spaces had I not spent time with Just Six.
With Just Six.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no, Just Six is I've seen Just Six grow.
Yeah.
Like I've seen where they're coming from, where they are now. They're one of the few groups that I've just been like, wow, these guys, they just get better and better and better and better as time goes by. Yeah. And I think, that definitely rubbed off on you working with them. I'm sure you learned a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking back to I might play a clip of this back to ACM Gold. That studio that you were working with. When I came to the studio, I was like, my God.
That small little room.
Yeah, that room. I was like, this is amazing. I'd never seen anything quite like that,
Yeah.
And that was even before I started working, in places that exposed me to a lot of the gear that's used in studio and stuff like that. And we had a bit of a jam session with FIFO. It was FIFO on bass, I was on keys, and you were singing vocals.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember Kate Katleho Mukwena also.
I think Katlego was just there.
Vibes. Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Vibes.
But I remember
when we
days.
did Decency, that little clip of Decency. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's on YouTube somewhere.
Wow.
I don't know who posted it though.
Wow, I looked like I was anorexic back then.
I'm gonna play a short clip.
I'm sorry.
Now.
Misery is a friend of mine, but we've been hanging out all the time. Oh yeah. We've been fighting life all the time, and we've been heading for the finish line. Oh yeah. I swear you love to whine, I swear you love to whine. You never get in my head. I try to cut the line, when I try to cut the line, you're ready for what I say. You have the cheek to say, you have some decency. You have the cheek to say, the cheek to say, the cheek to say. You have the cheek to say, you have some decency. You have the
But yeah, that was quite something, and that's a long time ago, dude. That's a long time ago. And now you're at Jazzworks. Hey, that's your sort of main.
Yes.
Place?
Yeah. So I think I've always been at Jazzworks. I was freelancing there for a very long time. Well, since Robin, the owner of Jazzworks, was pretty much the one person who kind of gave me that break.
Yeah, yeah.
Come learn, do whatever you need to do. So I've always been at Jazzworks. At the time that we had that studio in Santon that we shot that clip at, I had met another guy called Adriano Tabasso, and we started that studio together. But I was still going back to Jazzworks and working. From that, I eventually met another guy called James Mjoli, who you know.
Yes.
We started a studio called Creative Harmony in Rivonia. Creative Harmony still exists in different forms. We're also kind of doing the whole live sound thing also. But Jazzworks is where I spend most of my time just because of the sheer amount of volume of work that comes from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I freelance there, but I also go there sometimes with my own clients if I need a bigger space.
So you do work for their clients.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm booked for their clients, and if I need the space, I book the space as well. It's just kind of always worked like that. So I'm not really like tied down to one studio. I've just seen the studio here at Case in Point, and it's really cool. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out on their website. Really cool studio that I'm going to talk to Mason, see if I can spend some time here as well.
Yeah.
But I'm fluid. Cape Town, I work at Milestone. Is the space cool? Is it dope?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Awesome. Awesome. Dude, I want to sort of switch gears a little bit and maybe stay on the live thing a little. Well, I guess it's not really live. You did some work for NPR's Tiny Desk.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
When was that? And how long was that stint? What?
Geez, when was it?
Like, were you in the US?
No. So it was either during COVID or just after COVID.
Yeah.
NPR was recording a Tiny Desk for a movie that had just come out called Coming to America 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Coming to Zamunda or something.
Yeah.
So the idea was to have
that movie sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
it just was
it
not.
was such a letdown.
It just was not.
Such a letdown.
A lot of sequels that they've tried to do have really just sucked. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just,
don't do sequels, guys.
Maybe just leave. Like, if it's been a long time, right? Just leave it.
Lion King.
Just do something new. Yeah. Lion King. Oh my God.
I think the only sequel so far, we're going off topic here, but the only sequel that I've really enjoyed so far, I think, was Avatar. From a visual perspective, I'm just like, okay, there's a marked improvement. Not sure about the storyline.
Visually, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But even that one, I feel like they shouldn't have done it.
Is there a sequel, though, that you actually were like, okay, you know what? Yeah.
No. No. Like, when we think of, like, movies that haven't had a sequel, they've just decided, we broke, we need to make some money, let's just make a sequel of this thing because it was so great.
Yes.
Those ones have just been a total failure, I think. There's movies where, like The Matrix, you've got 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Those were just like, what? Amazing. And even for their time, that was just like, this is insane.
They were breaking new ground.
Yeah, that was The Matrix, great. Yeah. I love all of them. The whole trilogy, I love it. My wife and I, we've watched it a number of times. The Lord of the Rings movies,
haven't watched a single one.
All of them are great. All of them. They're very long. They're very long. During COVID, with that first lockdown, my wife and I just got married. 2019, we got married in December. 2020, COVID happened, right? That first 2-week lockdown, we didn't even have a TV. Just that day before the lockdown was supposed to hit, I went to the store and I bought us a huge TV. I was like, we will have a TV for this 2 weeks.
Yes.
Who knew it was going to be like months? But we watched the Lord of the Rings movies, all of them. I went and Googled, what's the order to watch these movies in? And it said, watch this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one. And we watched it like that and was like, wow. But Avatar, okay, it was fine. It was fine. But yeah, I wish they didn't do it. The prequel of Joker, in my opinion, was terrible.
What was the prequel to The Joker?
So there was the Joker. Then they did the Joker 2,
Which was meant to be.
which is so we watched the Joker, which was his origin story.
Right.
Then there was a follow up to that one.
Okay.
Terrible.
Okay. Yeah.
Terrible.
I haven't
I'm
gone
sorry.
into that one.
Terrible. Anyway,
Yeah. But
if we get into
NPR.
movies, it's gonna be like a
It's
whole
gonna be
different.
another
Maybe we
podcast.
should do a thing. I'll come to your house. We'll sit.
sequels.
We'll
Yeah.
sit and then we'll talk about movies. But
sure.
yeah, oh yeah, NPR. We'll
yeah,
talk about
so
NPR.
they-
Coming to Zamunda, terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
They wanted to bring in artists who had performed on the soundtrack to do like a tiny desk for that. But then at the time, the guys couldn't fly over to the US.
Yeah.
I think at the time we also did. We had just done Nasty C. Nasty C performed on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Okay.
So they had done a similar thing where they reached out and they're like, "Hey, we want to record a segment of Nasty C. Can you guys put it together and whatever,
Yeah.
whatever?" So it was a whole team.
So it
of
was
people.
going to be
It wasn't
done
just
here and then sent over and played on
It was
the,
going to
the
be
show.
done here. It was shot somewhere in Ferndale at a studio, at an like Infinity Screen vibe, whatever. So it was a whole team of people. It wasn't just like,
Yeah.
there was people responsible for all sorts of things. I was just more on the audio side of things. So with the NPR thing, got called in to record because NPR is such a difficult. If anyone's like a proper audiophile, what Josh Rogerson is doing or was doing when he was still with NPR is just magic.
Yeah.
To get that sound?
To get is difficult. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that say how to get that NPR radio voice or how to get that NPR this.
Having people in such a confined space and finding a way to balance everything, make everything sound good is nothing short of amazing. So he has a very strict regimen of, we don't want to see mic stands when you're miking the drum kit. We don't want to see cables. We don't want to do this. But things that are just making it extremely hard to record a drum kit, because like, how do you
not see mics?
How do you not see a mic stand? I need to put this thing somewhere,
Yeah.
you know? So you have to become very creative. And he's managed to find, again, step outside of the technical into the artistic, where you can use a mic like this for a hi-hat.
Yeah.
You know, it's a podcast mic, but you can use it or use its characteristics for something else.
Yeah.
So he's found ways to use mics that weren't meant for what he was using them for, but because they're functional or they look aesthetically pleasing, like those shotgun mics.
Yeah.
The reason why he uses those is that they're very directional.
Yeah.
Their polar pattern is not wide.
Very wide, it's quite.
So we get a brief, this is what we need. And I think the reason why I was called is at the time I was probably the most experienced engineer in that particular team. They're like, if anyone will know how to place microphones or which microphones to use or whatever, it's that guy. So they called me in.
So they NPR knew that about you.
No.
Oh,
so
the people that were asked to do it here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They were like, we know who to call.
Yeah, obviously the call comes from NPR, but then they have people on the ground here where they're like,
Who
okay,
know
so who do we use for the video?
who's best,
Who do we use for this and this? Yeah. So yeah, just got given a bunch of equipment and they're like, we want to record this. These are the artists that are coming. This is what they're bringing. There were so many more artists that came and recorded that never actually made it to the final cut.
Oh wow. Okay.
There was quite a lot of people, but it was like a 2-day shoot in Randburg, and yeah, boom. And then they went and put my government name in the credits, and I'm just like,
Clifford Machinga.
They were like Cliff. They didn't even say Clifford.
Just Cliff.
Cliff Machinga, and I'm like, you had one job, guy.
It's Riffi Wacho.
Riffi Wacho, dog.
The Sound
Right?
Sangoma. Come on, guys.
I mean, how many people are gonna go there and be like, oh, Cliff, oh, that's Riffi? No. So
no,
I'm like,
yeah.
fine.
They won't even know. They're like, maybe it's Riffi's brother who lives in the US somewhere.
Maybe. But if you do go on the video and you see Cliff Machinga,
it's
your
you.
boy. It's your boy.
It's him, guys. It's him.
For real.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a dope experience, man. It was good, and I learned so much. I learned how to mic a drum kit with 2 mics.
Yeah.
During that, I mean, it was an electric drum kit for the most part, but it had live elements, and we had to use 2 microphones to mic it. And
that's actually so. There's a church that we are currently trying to spec up. And they've got a drum kit and they want to just use 2 mics. So maybe we should talk about that after this.
Sure.
You're not going to charge me for that. My brother.
Look,
my blood brother.
We'll talk about the show.
You know, actually speaking about like charging and stuff like that, I'm sure you've had like a difficult time when it comes to people asking you to do jobs, and then you tell them, okay, this is how much it costs. Do they like choke on their saliva?
Yeah, all the time.
And do you then say, okay, or do you say, well, that's how much it costs? And yeah.
It depends, really. It depends. Depending on what we want to accomplish with the work. Sometimes I'm open to say, okay, how much do you have? Also depends on how much time I have. I don't mind helping people out because my entire career has just been really people also, extending a hand and helping out in ways that I was not deserving in any way. People did a lot of favors for me to be where I am. So my way of repaying that is to also plant a seed elsewhere. But for the most part, and where people kind of don't understand
take advantage,
is,
maybe.
especially when it comes to church bands and groups, like y'all are doing this as a hobby. You meet for rehearsal once in the week or on Sundays, and it's cool. But like for the most part, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
For me, I have mouths to feed.
Yeah.
And this is how
you feed them. Yeah.
So you tell them a price, and they're like, it's too expensive, or we found someone who can do it for half. It's like,
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
For the most part, I do respect that, budget is not always available, and we'll try and make it work and trim off fat where we can. But I think I'm also now at the point in my career where I can turn people away.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm not going to work for that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, it can be really difficult, and once you do it once, like if you do that once, it's expected that you're gonna.
We heard you charge
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I've heard that before a lot.
Yeah, that's what I charge them.
It's like, no, but don't you charge like that? Where'd you hear that? No, this person said. It's like, no, that was for that person.
Yeah, but one thing that I found makes a difference is having an online booking system or whatever.
Oh yeah,
When someone asks you for rates or whatever, you just send them a link and you're like, that's where my rates are. If you want to book me there.
Yeah.
There's no
that
room to
eliminates
negotiate
that
or
back
whatever
and forth
there.
negotiation. Yeah.
They go there and they see, he charges 10 rand.
Then
There's no option for a discount. Do I have 10 rand? Yes, I'll
go
book
for
it
it
and pay. Yeah.
And have you been able to feed your mouths?
Yeah. It's been a very long and arduous journey.
Yeah.
But I always say, if you're consistent in learning and growing and pursuing excellence, the money does follow eventually. Yeah. Eventually. There was a time where we would work ngesisu basically, like I'm hungry, so I'll get a gig for 5 rand and I'll take it because I need. But the more you pursue excellence, the more you and I say pursue because do we really ever achieve it? I don't know. But the more you're chasing after the best you can ever be, at some point people start to see value in what you're doing and will
you
put
become
money.
undeniable.
Yeah. So growing up where I grew up in Zimbabwe, it was unheard of to want to become a musician or let alone a sound guy.
Yeah.
And then that's what you want to do for your career.
Yeah.
It was unheard of. But now like there's a realistic option to pursue that, but not just to do it for the sake of surviving. Like you can actually create wealth for your children and their children through what we're doing now. You know, there's opportunities to do that now. So it's been long, it's been tough, but finally I think it's starting to make sense. And it's still not easy.
Yeah, but at least
we're fed.
Sustainable.
Yeah, we're fed. There's room for growth.
Yeah, dude. Let's talk a little bit about AI technology and stuff, because that's obviously a big thing, exciting. But I feel like in the space that we work in the creative space, there are some risks when it comes to AI. That's just my thinking. because unfortunately AI cannot be creative. I know a lot of people think, no, dude, put in your prompts and it can give you a script for a whole movie and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, it's taking like little bits of everything that's out there and then creating something, that's basically made from 1,000 different things. But what's your view when it comes to AI? Do you think, especially with people that are coming up now, with this tool at their disposal? I mean, when we were doing what we were doing, we didn't have things like AI.
Right.
It existed, but we had no access to it. So we had to, we had to flex our creative muscles. Do you think these muscles are going to atrophy over time with the introduction of AI? Do you think it's a good, tool for productivity? What's your sense when it comes to AI, especially in the space that we currently operate in?
I genuinely love the idea behind AI. It's the same thinking behind the person that made it a washing machine or a dishwasher. It's just to simplify an arduous process, right? Within what we do, unfortunately, it tends to create a lazier generation. Autotune was meant to do that. It was meant to just fix certain things that were wrong, inconspicuously in the background, just tuning your voice as you sing. But then it now created a generation of people who are just like, just put autotune. And it's like, no, sing.
Yeah,
sing
right.
it properly, right? So there's definitely, I'm trying as much as possible to use AI to my benefit for things that I know that it was going to take me a lot longer. I can't trust it yet with creative decisions. It's more just tasks that I'll just be like, score this for me, and it'll take my MIDI and score it where I would have had to,
to plot and stuff.
things like that. So I'm always a firm believer in taking or using whatever technology is there to the best of the advantage, but not allowing it to take over the creative process because, like you're saying, AI cannot be creative. It only takes information from here going backwards and then aggregates, a solution from you based off of what is already there. It can't come up with anything new per se.
Yeah.
So definitely there are AI tools that are useful, but not so far as creativity or artistic originality is concerned for me.
Yeah.
That is,
And even with the technical tools, let's look at, for example, a mic modeling AI, right? Do you trust that, okay, this is a Neumann, TLM whatever or whatever it is, that I'm using just a standard condenser microphone, but I've put this plug in that's going to make it sound like this really expensive microphone,
I believe that is snake oil. I don't think it's real at all. Quote me. Applying an EQ curve is it's not the same.
Yeah.
You're putting makeup on a pig, basically. Underneath, it's still this microphone. It just has an EQ curve. So if I were to slap on just the default EQ and copy that EQ curve, does it then make it? No. And in my experience, it actually doesn't sound the same.
Doesn't sound the same, yeah.
No.
So you'd consider yourself a purist?
Yes. Use the preamp.
Yeah.
Use the microphone. Don't model it.
Do you use a lot of outboard gear?
Yes. Yeah. A fair amount. I mean, a fair amount. I think where I felt that it matters the most, especially on my stereo bus.
Yeah.
That's where, a lot of outboard gear lives, compression, EQ, that kind of stuff. Within the actual mix, I used to, when I was still at Downtown Music Hub, we had an SSL console, so would mix and use the EQs and compressors on there, but also that's just a lot of work.
Yeah. Also, now you don't mind using plugins?
I don't mind. I think I found a suite of plugins that come very close to what the actual outboard sounds
From where?
like.
From Waves or?
Plugin Alliance.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been around a
So
long
far as
time,
channel strips are concerned, I use almost exclusively Plugin Alliance SSL stuff. But if, let's say, I want a different, like a Neve sound, I prefer the Universal Audio 1073. I'll use that channel strip. But yeah, almost everything I mix goes through
Plug in a
an
lines.
SSL E channel or a G channel. Occasionally, and I'm giving you a secret, occasionally for bass vocals, I'll use the Focusrite channel strip because it's just got a bit more chias.
Really? Oh,
So it's really just about knowing what each channel strip gives you.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know like the G channel on the SSL is colorful, but it's also like fairly transparent. The E channel is great for aggressive stuff like for guitars and whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
another episode.
Yeah, that's a whole, yeah, we can get into that. Yeah. But that's all, that's basically AI.
Fair, yeah, yeah.
So I think finding the right balance, I think,
Yeah.
would be the goal. Because a lot of us can get stuck in, oh, I'll just, especially like with content like this, right? You put this onto Opus Clip, and then it gives you a bunch of clips, right? And it's gonna spit out, because I'm gonna do this later. I'm gonna put this on Opus Clip and get like shorts, but I have to still take those shorts and put them back into my editing software and actually find the right, piece of content that I want to put for you guys to then go and I have to see what else Riffi said about that thing, because AI doesn't quite understand. It's using cues and words and and then trying to then say, oh, this is a viral moment or whatever. So I think leaving it up to AI is lazy,
Yeah.
and you can't replace the human creative aspect from it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Use AI, but I think just insofar as it makes your work a lot easier. Because, I mean, if you think about a channel strip, you click open and your project opens in however long it opens. It's different to someone who's going on a console and doing recall on every channel and putting the knobs back to where they were. That's going to take you half the day already.
Yeah. And you don't need that.
And in that half day, you could have mixed half a song or a song, So just like the use of AI, I'm not against it. I'm not for it, but where it
we just
it
have to be
gives
careful.
you, where it gives you some measure of convenience to then execute what you need to execute quicker or easier. Cool.
Have you heard the songs that AI has written
I've
and
heard
put
a
out?
few.
Don't they just sound a bit lifeless to you?
They do. There's no dynamic range. It's just yeah.
I've heard, and even
But
the lyrics are like,
people are happy with it. I mean, people are listening to it, and I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes technology can create a bit like a more muted, mentally muted generation that's just happy with the bare minimum.
100%.
And they're like, okay, so this is the purist in me speaking. Bedroom studios are dope and they're cool and they serve the purpose for what they.
Yeah.
But the purist in me is just like, how is this song #1 on Billboard and it was made in FL Studio in someone's bedroom and mixed on some headphones or whatever? And then that's what we're saying. This is the measure by which we're looking at the pop community or whatever, And it's like, okay, it works, cool. But it's because the consumer is okay with it. The consumer has accepted that.
Yeah, they've sort of been dialed.
We can take this.
Yeah.
Back in Bob Marley's day, you could never do that. You could never do that. They were so critical of the mix, the song, the grittiness, the what. They could never just take someone's recording J and be like, it bangs. So
Just to sort of land the plane, so to speak, I just want to go back to your earliest memory that had to do with sound or music production or how long ago was that? How old were you? Where were you? What was going on? Sights and sounds, what was happening?
my earliest memory was preschool.
Preschool. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom we used to, those big cabinet like radio hi-fi systems with the turntable on top and everything.
And the fabric on the speaker.
I remember my mom trying to go for work and she couldn't leave because I was crying, and she switched it on. She put on an Oliver Mtukudzi record. And I remember it had 3 big knobs, one written bass, one treble, and the volume one. And I remember just being there
manipulating it.
Yeah, playing with the bass and playing with this and this and this. So it's a story that she actually reminded me of later in my life. But I remember that. And I remember being so fascinated and being so stuck on there, distracted enough for her to sneak out and go to work and me not notice that she was gone. And I'm just there playing with the bass. And I suppose that's where it kind of began for me. But I do remember that that moment. That was 19 something.
Chakuti somewhere.
Yeah. Way back when.
So you've known for quite a while what you wanted to do, basically.
Yeah. Mm.
Maybe not how you were going to do it, but at least you knew what exactly
Yeah.
you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now you're Grammy nominated.
Mm-hmm.
What was the nomination for?
It was for Angels We Have Heard on High. For Just
That
Sex.
was in 2022, right? 23? 22? 21?
No, man. That wasn't that like
22?
3 years ago? See, time also is just
Yeah, so 2022,
yeah,
I guess.
but recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a record that I produced, mixed and mastered as well. Mixed. It was mastered by Bill Hare, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that took you over the line. You're now Grammy nominated.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like it's just what I think, right? We never thought anyone would ever say something like this about us, you know.
Right.
Well, let me not say us, I'm not Grammy nominated, but did you ever think anyone would ever say anything like that about Riffi? Oh, he's Grammy nominated. He's nominated for Grammy.
Ngozi will
it just
tell
seems
you.
big.
Sure, but for me, it was always within reach in my mind.
Yeah.
Ngozi will tell you. We sat down at the very beginning of Just Six, and we spoke about a Grammy.
Oh, yeah?
10, 11, 12 years ago, we sat down and we were like, we're going to get a Grammy. So it was always there. I think at the time that we spoke, the thing was like, we're giving ourselves 7 years.
Okay.
But there was a time limit. There was a time in which we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it in this time. And it took longer. Mm-hmm. But I mean, part of the reason why I was comfortable to then move on from Just Six was in how similar it is when a child gets to a certain age. They've been raised in this home. They've known everything they know from this home. But now
Then
it's
you
time for
sort of
them to
grow
go
out
in
of it.
and build another home or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We had achieved what we had set out to do. We wanted to be in the same conversation as Grammy nominees, and we did it. So it was like, okay, cool. Let me find somewhere else to go and inspire something there or learn from there as well. So I'll be honest with you. For me, it's always been. I've always known that, and that's not where it stops. You know. Beyond just being nominated, I'm pursuing an actual win for a Grammy. How I'm going to do it,
We'll see.
you'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a roadmap and we know exactly how we're going to do it, with who. And we're doing whatever it needs to be done there. But it's always been there. It's been on my vision board since, I don't know. So it's always been there. And I'll get it. We'll come back to this video a few years from now.
What do you think your 8-year-old, 9-year-old self would say to you if they got a chance to meet you today?
Whew, what they would say to me or what I would say to them?
What they would say to you. That kid had dreams and aspirations.
Oh, yeah.
They'll look at you.
Yeah.
What do you think they'd say?
They'd be slightly disappointed because 8-year me wanted to be a pilot.
I think we all wanted to be pilots
at some point. But I think he would be proud. I think he'd feel safe knowing that we actually eventually ended up being one of the best to do what you're doing, which for me has always been the most important thing, even because I have a son now. I want him to look at me and be like, that guy is actually one of the best, if not the best at what he does. Not just in the space that we are, even outside of the circles that we are. You know, I want him to arrive somewhere and they're like, whoa. he'd be like, no, I'm Riffi son. And like, okay.
Come through.
That's what I want for him. So I think 8-year-old me would
Proud.
feel safe and wouldn't be as anxious or would he, hey.
What's my future?
Yeah. I think he'll be all right.
Would you want your son to follow in your footsteps?
No.
He must be a doctor.
Not must. But I want him to figure out what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I eventually got that opportunity, growing up in an African home, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you have brothers who are chartered accountants and engineers and it's just like...
Yeah.
I was meant to be a doctor. Didn't really work out.
Yeah.
But I want to try, and I've been trying to just identify where he has strengths and just invest in that as early as possible. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Riffi, thanks so much. It's been a great conversation.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that I would have wanted us to talk about. And, with my sort of inclination, we would have been geeking out here on a lot of stuff. So I think we should have another episode where we get a bit technical.
Okay.
I think we'll sit in the studio.
Yeah. We'll
mess with some good vocals, some bad vocals.
Absolutely.
And and see what the Sound Sangoma has to say and what he's gonna do with those vocals.
Absolutely.
But thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
No way.
Guys, don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. JOVA. The JOVA Podcast.